No, 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 no. Please, please. I think there was a big understanding. Please, I'm too weak. Just don't, no, 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 no.
Hey guys, it's me, Greenbox. So, we're finally here. We were at the end of the story on how I got into this little predicament. Well, let's just say it all began directly where we left off. Well, me and Derek were walking back, gonna catch another boat ride to get out of here after, blowing up a base. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, Derek was ripped apart from my hands and he was stolen from me, and they left a note. And on the note, well, at first I went back and then I read the note, and the note said as following: go back to the place where it all began. And I knew what they were on about, so I went straight over there. Se7en came out in 1995. It was directed by David Fincher. It was edited by Richard Francis Bruce, and it was written by Andrew Kevin Walker. The music was done by Howard Shaw, and the cinematography was done by Darius Cordinci. It had a budget of $33 million, but at the box office it made 27.3 million, and it was distributed by New Line Cinema. So where was I again? Ah yes, I remember. I went to the place where it all began. The room where the Wolverina 01 review video was made. My first ever video made on the Greenbox channel, and the oldest one on the Greenbox channel. What great memories I had. But then I walked into the room where my glass of wine, well, it's not really wine, it's actually blackcurrant, where I held it while I was recording my first ever Greenbox video, and I was drinking it during the Wolverine 01 review. And right next to it was the letter S and a letter, and the letter read as following: go to the place where you had your first ever success. And I knew where that was, so I went over there straight away. The story of Se7en goes like this. It's about a rookie detective called David Mills, who's just moved to New York with his wife, Tracy Mills. David Mills has to team up with a veteran detective who's about to retire in 1 week called William Sormet, played by Morgan Freeman. They have to team up to solve a bunch of gruesome murders done by the evil John Doe, played by Kevin Spacey. A few things I like about this movie is that Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt have very good chemistry together. They're always bouncing off each other, and I think it's one of the highlights of this movie. Another thing I like about this movie is that it's a very suspenseful story. It always keeps you on the edge of your seat. I'm not going to say why. Well, I may go into it at the character part, especially for John Doe, or maybe the everything else section. Another thing I like about this movie is that it does not have the traditional police procedure story, with this being a police procedural movie, but having a dark twist on it. And it uses a lot of show don't tell, but we're not going to go into that right now, because that will also be in the everything else section, probably with editing and cinematography. Next up, I went to the place where I recorded many of my Battle of the Beverages videos, the first ever series on the Greenbox channel. Over there was the fruit cocktail and the trophy, along with a letter H, which I did collect. In the trophy was a note, and the note read as following: now go to the place where you had your greatest triumph. And I knew exactly where that was, so I went straight over there. Detective William Somerset is a very lonely character, as he is never married. He was almost married to a girl, but she got pregnant, and William did not want the child, so they end up going their own separate ways. He is also as well very cultured, as in the library scene. He listens to a lot of classical music and educates himself on religion and religious books from the Renaissance and the medieval ages. Also, compared to his partner, Detective Mills, he is very calm throughout the whole movie. He very rarely snaps. In fact, he only raises his voice right at the end of the movie, at the final scene. Also, he's very inquisitive, as he does ask a lot of questions in the final scene, unlike Detective Mills, who just has a debate with him. Detective William just asks questions on why he did it and what goes through his head when he does these things. Also, as well, William has lost all faith in the police, as in the first scene when they investigate the gluttony murder, William doesn't even bat an eye, as the beat cop hasn't even looked to see if the body's still alive, unlike Detective Mills, who gets very annoyed about it. And on the other side of the coin, you got Detective David Mills, which is basically the polar opposite of Detective William, because David is very combative, hot-headed, loud. He's very rarely calm unless he's around his wife, and he's the polar opposite. But I think that's what makes their connection so great throughout the movie. They're polar opposites, yet they still want the same thing. It does follow the buddy cop trope, but it puts a different spin on it. Another thing that makes these two different is that David Mills always jumps to conclusions, unlike Detective William, who takes his time to look for the evidence, as instantly Detective David Mills just labels John Doe as a lunatic, unlike Detective William, who tells him, take a step back and don't call him a lunatic, because for all we know, this man could just be an utter psycho. He does also as well let his emotions get in front of him. This is shown all throughout the movie, and it's the thing that brings him down, because, spoiler alert, one last spoiler alert, at the end of Se7en, John Doe has decapitated his wife, and he can't keep his emotions under control and ends up killing John Doe, and that's the exact thing John Doe wanted. First things first, I just want to say that there are much better videos to analyse John Doe than this one, so I probably won't give the best analysis, but I'll try my best anyway. First things first, John Doe is a very preachy man. It's one of the few things we know about him before we actually see his face. He's a very preachy man. He preaches his beliefs. He also as well thinks he's the hero of the story. He also as well thinks he belongs in heaven, as at the end of Se7en, he wants David to become Wrath and sent into heaven, where he thinks he belongs. He's also a very jealous man. He envies David's simple lifestyle of having a wife, 2 dogs, and a child. So that's why at the end of Se7en he does kill David's wife, because he hates how David gets to live such a normal life. He is also as well an absolute psychopath, as he takes pleasure in the torture of people. As he tortured a man for a whole year, he force-fed a man for 12 hours ravioli, and another one which I can't really say, but he gets someone to frick someone to death. This man is pure evil and an absolute psychopath. Next up, I went on to Minecraft, because when the note was on about my greatest triumph, I'm pretty sure it meant in chronological order, and my first great triumph was when I absolutely destroyed OMD Gaming in the Minecraft ice ring. And when I spawned into Minecraft, I went straight to the ice ring, and there was a note there. There was a book, and I don't remember putting that book there, so I read it, and it said, "Now go to the place where you are most famous." So I thought, and I realised then, I knew where that was, so I rushed straight over there. But not before realising there was a letter I on the wall, so I picked it up and added it to my collection. Firstly, I'm going to talk about colour. And as shown from these screenshots from Colour Palette Cinema, there are a lot of dark colours in this movie. There's a lot of greys, lots of murky yellows. It gives a very hopeless feel to the whole movie. Everything's dark, everything's gloomy. If you watch the movie for yourself, you will actually see how dark everything is in this movie. It gives the whole movie a hopeless feel, as the whole world is just surrounded in darkness with very few rays of sunshine and color, well, bright color at the very least. At the end of the day, it does play into David Fincher's idea of making this world and making the city that Se7en takes place in a hopeless hellscape, where there seems to be no law and order and justice is just a myth. Next up, we have music. Music and sound effects play a very underrated role in this movie, as the music is very gothic, as it's used up a lot of rock and creepy music. You know, it puts you on edge, especially during the first investigation scene. It puts you on edge because you think there'll be a jump scare or someone will pop out and spook you. But David Fincher luckily doesn't go down the cheap jump scare route and just build suspension until they reveal the gluttony corpse. The sound effects in this movie as well also adds a more hopeless feel to it, where all you can hear is rain hitting the car and screams from people fighting outside. Rain is a constant noise. I think it's the most popular noise in the whole movie, and it does really add to the dystopian feel of the city. First up, it's set design. The set design of Se7en is very dystopian looking. It's always raining, as we can see in this scene right now, where we can see Detective David Mills chasing after John Doe in the alleyway. Another thing as well, as we can also see from this clip, is that it is a very dystopian look. You can see in the background, there's all smog, there's the color palette is very grey, everything's falling apart. Take that truck, for example. You can see all the moss and the mold off it. You can see, like, stuff falling off in the background. You know, it really shows that David Fincher hit the nail on the head when he wanted to show that the world had been corrupted by greed and power, and where crime went unpunished. I went to the next location, and inside the fridge was my bacon lardons, where my most popular video, how to cook bacon lardons, was made, with it having 500 views on it. I collected the tea, but on the back of the tea there was a note saying, "Now you've collected all the letters, that your phone will ring in 5 minutes." So I waited, and then the phone rang. So I picked it up, and someone spoke on the other line. Next up is cinematography/editing, and the one key rule that Se7en follows is show don't tell, and this is perfectly shown in the first scene when they investigate the gluttony murder. This is a perfect case of show don't tell, as David Fincher only wants us to focus on the relevant piece of information, as all the pasta tins, as everything else is covered in darkness. Another way that is show and tell is that Morgan Freeman does not speak during this discovery, and in fact just shows us what he found. Imagine how stupid it would be if he said, "I found some pasta tins," and then picked one up and started waving it around like it was a treat. David Fincher just shows us what he wants us to show us, and then moves on instantly. This is also another case of show don't tell, as that David Fincher does not show the gluttony victim being murdered. It doesn't even have a little montage of him being force-fed 12 hours of ravioli, but instead just shows the corpse and lets us fill in the blanks on how it all went down, which is, in my opinion, a lot more scarier than David Fincher just showing us Kevin Spacey force-feeding this guy for 12 hours, or having a 3-minute montage of this guy being force-fed. And the final example I want to give is that when it comes to this scene, David Fincher only wants you to focus on Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, as everything else is either covered in rain or is covered in darkness. Hello there, green box. I've been waiting. You've come across my treasure hunt, I guess. So, since you found all the clues and you've been to all locations, I will tell you the whereabouts of Derek. Just meet me at the junkyard, and then I'll show you where Derek is, because that's where he is. and I will reveal to you something else, something much bigger. But I'll see you then, so Auf Wiedersehen. Overall, 7 is a 10 out of 10 certified hood classic with a great story, great characters, and an ending which has impacted pop culture forever. And it baffles me how this won no Oscars at the Oscars. Great English, Daniel. But make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Auf Wiedersehen. Hello, green box. I've been expecting you. Well, Detective Joe from the super helpful Information Task Force. I thought you retired. So, where's Derek? Well, firstly, I was retired for a bit, but then I was called in to do one last job, and secondly, I'm not allowed to disclose that, Derek's whereabouts, but you will find out in time. Okay then, well, let's get to the other big question. What's in the box? Well, in the box, there's actually Derek's whereabouts. You can actually take a look if you want to, since you did go to everywhere I said you had to go, and answered my phone call, so there you go. Okay then, let's see where Derek is. Oh my gosh. No, this can't be. No. No, Eric, what happened to you? Who did this? Special Detective Joe, who did do this? Well, you see, Green Box, I kind of had no other choice to in the end. This man had my wife held captive. You know, I was enjoying retirement. I was in a nice little log cabin off the coast of California. You know, it was nice and secluded. But then he showed up and captured my wife and said, if I didn't do this, he would die. This man said to me that he's been secretly running everything behind the shadows for so long. And now I think he wants to permanently end you. I can't believe it. If there's any information, I don't know his full name. All I know is that his first name is... Oh my gosh. Joe, is everything...
I'm too weak. Just no.
So guys, we're finally here. You finally know how I got into this whole situation, why I'm here. So, without further ado, let's reveal who captured me and who put me here.
No, I swear, I'll make out to cook an egg for too.
I've been expecting you, Green Box.